From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN Noon News.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us on your MTN statewide news this Friday. I'm Janelle Slade. Well, the western side of the state feeling the brunt of the coronavirus today as health officials announce 5 more deaths. Flathead County reports 4 victims and Sanders County 1. Now, the state has also reached 131 deaths tied to COVID so far. Active cases have dropped to around 1,800. In the U.S. Senate, it's back to square one after Democrats blocked a new Republican-led coronavirus relief bill. The Republicans needed 60 votes to advance it, but none of the chamber's 47 Democrats supported it. Republican Senator Steve Daines said it's beyond disappointing that the bill failed. It included more money for businesses, schools, unemployment benefits, and COVID-19 testing. Democrat Senator John Tester said Republicans made no effort to compromise with Democrats and put forth a bill they knew would fail. Well, just hours after School District 2 in Billings announced it would allow 2 visitors per football player in the stands last night, Bozeman School District 7 and Belgrade followed suit. Well, last night, the Senior Broncs beat the Bozeman Hawks in Billings as spectators sat on both sides of Dayla Stadium. Well, tonight, Bozeman Gallatin High School will play its first game ever against Great Falls High with family members of both schools in the stands. Well, the coronavirus has even changed the 19th anniversary of the September 11th terror attacks. A disagreement over health precautions has led to 2 separate remembrances in Lower Manhattan. Nancy Chen reports.
The September 11th ceremony at the 9/11 Memorial in Lower Manhattan included moments of silence, but this year it did not include the traditional live reading of the victims' names because of coronavirus concerns. Instead, it was a recording of the names.
And my brother.
Some victims' family members who were upset by that decision set up their own ceremony nearby.
We knew that it was of the utmost importance that we read aloud the names of all 2,977 souls who perished 19 years ago today.
9/11 observances are also different this year at the Pentagon, where military leaders conducted the ceremony without victims' families in attendance.
We never forget those who were murdered by the terrorists.
And at the Flight 93 Memorial near Shanksville, Pennsylvania, the usual 90-minute ceremony was abbreviated. Here in New York, the fire commissioner strongly recommended firefighters skip 9/11 observances during the pandemic. The department lost 343 members that day. Firefighter Leonard Regaglia Sr., a member of Engine 54, was one of them. His 2 sons, Leonard Jr. and Anthony, are honoring him by following in his footsteps.
I have the honor and privilege of working in the same firehouse that he worked in, the same company. So it really means a lot to me.
I always looked up to my dad and what he did. And then I think as I matured and as the time went on, year after year, it became more and more of something I wanted to do.
They say they think their father would be proud. Nancy Chen, CBS News, New York.
At the Tunnel to Towers ceremony, the podiums were wiped down between each reader. Well, all across Montana, ceremonies will be held remembering 9/11. Tonight, you'll have a chance to do that at an annual memorial in Rose Park in Missoula. This Never Forget ceremony has been going on since the 1-year anniversary of the World Trade Center attacks. Organizers say it can be quite moving as thousands of displayed flags remember all of the first responders and civilians who lost their lives in 2001. Now, this year's event will have pandemic precautions, but everyone is welcome to attend. That starts at 6 p.m. again in Missoula. And in Laurel, the Field of Flags event is today and tomorrow from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. This annual celebration was started to honor our heroes. You can check out the red, white, and blue at 606 South 5th Street in Laurel. Well, it was a beautiful morning here in Montana. We're going to check in with meteorologist Ed Mcintosh now to tell us if it's going to continue.
It's going to continue through the day, Janelle, right into the weekend, these warmer temperatures, and that makes for nice evenings. And a lot of folks out wondering, what is that in the night sky? As we start off in the early evening hours, if you look towards the south, a couple of the brighter things in the sky will be Jupiter and Saturn. You could be able to check those out, especially till the late evening, and then shift your attention over towards the east during the late evening and overnight hours as Mars, and especially Mars and Venus, become much brighter, but look higher up into the sky. It's going to be a little bit harder as we get closer to the end of the weekend because wildfire smoke will increase. We'll talk about that in a few minutes.
All right, thanks so much, Ed. Well, a wildfire burning in Northern California is now the deadliest in the state this year. Officials have confirmed 10 deaths so far and say there could be more. Rescuers are still looking for 16 people missing. Now, the weeks-old blaze was about 50% contained before winds started fueling it again on Tuesday. It's part of a collection of fires in that area known as the North Complex. So far, about 125 miles have been burned and more than 2,000 homes lost. The city of Helena announces 3 city firefighters and wildland engines will deploy to fight the fires in California. The Emergency Management Assistance Compact sent requests for help, and 16 Helena firefighters volunteered. The firefighters will have a standard 14-day assignment, not including travel time. In all, the firefighters will be gone for nearly 20 days, plus any additional time needed for COVID-19 concerns.
I think they're really more excited to really take their skill set and what they know and what they can do and go to California and feel like they're doing their part for the bigger need within the country and help our neighbors in California.
And Chambers also says California often sends resources to help Montana with fires, so they are happy to give back and help. Well, as many watch the Bridger Foothills fire near Bozeman, there is concern it could reach the M, one of Bozeman's most popular hiking trails. MTN's Annie Johnson tells us how it impacts the community and MSU.
It's been 6 days since the Bridger Foothills fire broke out just 2.5 miles north of the M. That's 2.5 miles near one of the most iconic and popular spots in Bozeman.
I think that the M is that symbol of students collaborating with the community and also each other and their achievements that they've been able to do.
Since 1915, Montana State University not only had strong ties to the landmark, a group of MSU students were the ones to create it.
It took them that whole year just to get the rocks up there and everything like that, and then MSU has helped maintain it. And in between there's been times where it wasn't very well maintained, and then there was an alumni that raised a lot of money to get it going again. And then the Office of Student Engagement took over about 8 years ago.
But no one was expecting a fire to break out so close to a beloved landmark.
When it first started, I was getting text messages of the photos of the smoke next to the M. At that point, it seemed very close to the M, and it was scary. We put a lot of work into the M, and I think that it's a symbol for that collaboration between students and the community.
In moving forward, officials at MSU are glad they can continue their traditions at the M due to the efforts by emergency personnel.
It was scary, but I am very thankful for our firefighters and first responders that were able to protect the landmark.
Again, the actual M was not touched by the fire. Reporting in Bridger Canyon, Annie Johnson, MTN News.
Thanks, Annie. Up next on your Noon News, one Billings business is on the rebound. From teaspoons to tablespoons, it's a one-stop shop with a recipe for success. But first, Ed Mcintosh is in next with your statewide weather forecast.
We'll also see an increase in the wildfire smoke, and that's going to have an effect on the temperatures as well. Current readings are already in the 60s and 70s. This isn't that far off across much of northern Montana, even a little warmer than we would typically see for a high temperature from Great Falls up towards Cut Bank at 80 degrees here this hour. 60s to mid 70s across the eastern plains and through northern Wyoming. Livingston at 76 degrees already. We've picked up a little bit of a breeze down the east mountain slopes, but for the most part, winds are less than 10 miles an hour and aren't going to play much of a factor in the weather for today or through most of the weekend. So while it remains fairly quiet across Montana, check out this closed low that's been moving up from Colorado, Utah. We've been talking about it the last couple of days and is continuing to spin in some showers here once we look into South Dakota, but also spinning some of that moisture back and some of that cloud cover into southeast Montana and the eastern edge of Wyoming. The bigger story is going to be the smoke. The green shaded areas show where the smoke is much heavier through areas of northern California up into the Pacific Northwest. But the upper level winds have been drawing a lot of that smoke offshore, but they're going to start to reverse direction. So instead of pulling them off towards the ocean, they're going to start to push it back inland, and that could be a big effect on us as we start getting later into the weekend. The pink shades show not much to worry about as far as smoke here in the short term, but let's take the clock through time into tomorrow. North central and northwest Montana start to pick up a little more of that smoky haze, but watch how it blankets the state as we start getting into the weekend and into the first part of next week. Definitely going to have some effect on temperatures because the smoke will start to decrease the temperatures by a few degrees, but it could also have an effect on air quality. As this low continues to dig away from us tonight heading into tomorrow, we're looking at generally pretty warm conditions, a lot of mid-70s to mid-80s today, even more 80s by the end of the day tomorrow. But that smoke starts to come into play just a little more, especially by the end of the weekend, and those temperatures kind of level off 70s, 80s by Sunday. Monday will be the warmest day, but it could also increase the fire risk as we'll see the low humidity and some of that wind will start to increase into the eastern plains. Mid-70s to mid-80s today, some clouds that will hold temperatures back a little in southeastern Montana this afternoon, and then overnight temperatures are mainly into the 40s as we'll look for the sky to start to clear out a little bit during the afternoon for areas of the southeast Montana. Temperatures in the 80s pretty consistently for you west of the divide. Overnight temperatures in the 40s, a drop in the temperatures early next week for Great Falls and Helena, looking at temperatures into the 80s through the weekend. But again, we'll see that drop in the temperatures as we start getting into Monday into Tuesday. Above average readings or average readings, even as we get into the middle of this coming week. For Bozeman and Butte, looking at those readings, 70s, then 80s. It'll back off a little bit as we start getting towards Monday, Tuesday, and the cloud cover increases. And the eastern plains will also see the temperatures drop off after a warm Monday. There's a look at the weather. Back to you.
All right, thanks so much, Ed. Well, over your lunch hour, it is time to add some zest to your kitchen. The COVID-19 pandemic has forced delays, changes, and a lot more time at home. MTN's Shaquille Kozart shows us how one Billings business found a way to turn up the heat.
Business is steady for Zest, a new kitchen supply and cookware store located in downtown Billings.
Our all-clad plant pans are doing really well, Le Creuset as well, and our knives are really popular. We also have just like every little gadget under the sun, so every person that comes in kind of finds a different thing that they feel like their kitchen could need.
But managing member Marguerite Zodry says that opening a small business in the midst of a pandemic wasn't easy.
Right before we actually had our grand opening that we started experiencing some of the challenges of the pandemic with staff having, potential exposures and just realizing that we really needed to make sure that both our staff and our customers were going to be as safe as possible.
While keeping staff and customers safe in the store is a priority, Jodry says they also want to ensure customers have access to the kitchen supplies they need.
Some of our suppliers are really backed up. I got a great surprise last week. Microplane told me that they were 45 days out on our order when I put it in, and then all of a sudden it just appeared. I don't know what happened. I guess they liked us or something. We needed some zesters at Zest. But generally speaking, we're just going to have to be really honest with our customers. If something is backed up in the supply chain and we can't get it for them right away, I'm more than happy to help them figure out where they can get it.
Since the weather is cooling down and more people may be staying indoors for home-cooked meals, Jodry says she is happy to be supplying quality kitchen supplies for the community.
I'm really looking forward to helping people who may not have spent a lot of time in the kitchen become comfortable and find it as an activity that can be soothing during some really difficult times.
In Billings, Shaquille Kozart, MTN News.
Thanks, Shaquille. Now, in a typical year, Glacier Symphony performs at Flathead High School's auditorium that seats 700 people. But this year, coronavirus has forced the symphony to get creative with rehearsals and performances. Now, this includes cutting down the symphony to 30 players. Once on stage, instead of sharing music stands, musicians have their own. The chorale will rehearse in 3 separate groups before coming together before the performance. And all members, aside from the woodwinds, must wear masks. Now, the audience is now limited to 150 people with social distancing requirements in place. Your latest Ag News is next with Russell Nimitz. Stay with us.
Here's your Farm and Ranch report from the Montana Ag Network.
Hi everybody, it's time for your Farm and U.S. Senate failed to end debate on the coronavirus aid package promised by Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. which, by the way, included some $20 billion for America's farmers and ranchers, but no increase in the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, a key demand of Senate Democrats. Now, Washington insiders say the failure to end debate and go to a vote means that the current Senate proposal is dead. And that means the likelihood of passing another coronavirus aid package, they say, before Congress leaves at the beginning of October is very low. If the measure would have passed, when combined with the $14 billion Commodity Credit Corporation replenishment from the original CARES Act, it would have provided the U.S. Department of Agriculture with $34 billion to help our farmers and ranchers and rural communities continue to weather the challenges out here in farm and ranch country created by COVID-19. Well, in some other news, this past spring, the American Sheep Industry Association asked wool producers to report their sales in an effort to help the USDA develop an accurate picture of the market situation. And now ASI is asking lamb producers to follow suit. The loss of the Mountain States Rosen plant down in Greeley, Colorado, is affecting the lamb industry on several levels, one of which is the loss of negotiated formula and comprehensive slaughter lamb prices reported due to confidentiality guidelines imposed by USDA's Ag Marketing Service. This has reduced the amount of market information and decreased market transparency available to sheep and lamb producers. In an effort, though, to provide producers with the market information to facilitate open and transparent price discovery, ASI is asking producers, feeders, and others involved in direct feeder lamb sales to report those sales to Chris Diaz at USDA's Ag Marketing Service, and his number is 970-353-9750. Well, stay with us. We'll have more ag news right after this. It's a Farm I Vote election toolkit is giving farmers and ranchers all of the information they need before voting. Michael Sistak is Farm Bureau's Grassroots Program Development Director and says that you can register to vote and find lots of useful ballot information by using the toolkit.
The voter toolkit is provided to all Farm Bureau members and the public in general so that they can access their voter information for the 2020 election. They can look up who their candidates are. They can find out how to vote too, because with the COVID-19 pandemic, the way voting is going to happen this year is changing constantly.
Andy says while you're there, you can also pledge to vote here in 2020. Again, to check out the Farm Bureau's toolkit, just visit them online at fb.org/vote. Well, that's a look at your farm and ranch news. Have a great day.
Thanks, Russell. Ed Mcintosh, smoke could be the word of the weekend.
Yeah, it could, and it looks like it's going to build in more and more. Today, we've generally got a clear sky, except for those areas of southeastern Montana where that low pressure area is creating some clouds and a few light showers. But over the weekend, with sunshine generally, the clouds will start to increase a little Sunday into Monday and Tuesday, but it could also pull in a little more of that wildfire smoke into generally anywhere into the western wildfires. Temperatures will have a little bit of downturn in general all across the region, so the warmest readings likely through Monday east of the Continental Divide, and that downturn in the temperatures will bring a few sprinkles and showers into the region, especially by Tuesday and Wednesday of next week.
Have a great day, everyone, and weekend.